Welcome back to our channel, Secret Coins Wealth. These rare Washington $quarter coins make people rich. Let's find out why don't miss out one of these who know a sigil coin make you rich. Number 1. Stop scrolling. Because what you are about to see might be sitting inside your pocket change right now and you are completely ignoring it. It looks like an ordinary quarter. A worn 1980 $quarter with a small P mint mark that most people never even notice. Covered with dirt lines across the face, especially around the head, and a dark grimy trail sitting near the mint mark. Even the back looks tired, scratched, and slightly blackened like it has lived a long forgotten life. And here is the shocking part. Most people would call this coin trash and spend it without a second thought. But coins like this have quietly sold for hundreds, and in rare cases even over $1,000 when something unusual is hiding in the details. Now listen carefully, because this is where it gets interesting. The real attention is not the age of the coin. It is not just the 1980 date or the P mint mark. It is what collectors look for in the small imperfections, the dirt lines that can actually hide deeper strike issues, and tiny minting irregularities that most eyes completely miss. The truth is simple. People ignore this quarter because it looks damaged, dirty, and worthless at first glance. It is the kind of coin you toss in a jar without thinking twice. But here is the twist. Some of these dirty-looking quarters have been found with rare strike errors, weak minting pressure, or unusual surface patterns that make them highly collectible. And you can check it in seconds. Hold the coin under bright light. Look closely at Washington's face. If the dirt lines look like they are sitting inside the design rather than on top of it, that is your first red flag. Now move to the P mint mark. If the area around it looks unusually rough, doubled, or oddly shadowed, pay attention. Then flip the coin. If the back shows deep scratches mixed with strange mint texture instead of normal wear, you might be holding something people overlook every single day. Let me tell you about a man who almost spent one of these without thinking. He was counting change at a gas station job. Saw a dirty 1980 quarter. Almost dropped it into the cash register pile, but something felt off. He kept it in his pocket instead. Weeks later, he showed it to a collector online, and that ugly coin was later valued at several $100s because of an unusual strike pattern combined with surface anomalies. That is the danger here. These coins do not scream value. They hide it in plain sight, and they are still circulating right now, being spent on coffee, snacks, and parking meters without a second thought. And here is the urgency you need to understand. If you find one, do not clean it, do not scrub it. Even a small wipe can destroy the natural surface and kill the collector value instantly. Just store it safely and compare it with verified examples. Because while you are watching this, there could be another coin sitting in your house, even rarer than this one. A coin so easy to miss that people throw it away without ever realizing what it could have been worth. And in the next story, I will show you exactly what that coin is, and why it disappears from circulation faster than people can recognize it. Number 2. The coin you're about to hear about looks so normal that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick it up. A simple $quarter. Dated 1971, no mint mark visible. Just a dull silver shade that almost looks too ordinary to matter. The kind of coin that disappears into pocket change, couch cushions, or gas station counters without a second thought. And that is exactly why it becomes dangerous. Because the most ignored coins are often the ones hiding the most surprising stories. Most people see it and instantly think, just 25 cents, nothing special, nothing rare, just another old coin from a forgotten pocket. But here is where reality flips, because certain 1971 quarters have quietly shocked collectors when unusual minting traits show up, and some of them have sold for hundreds, even thousands depending on condition and rare errors. Now before you dismiss this, listen closely, because this is where most people miss the moment. The coin itself is a 1971 Washington quarter, often seen without a mint mark, sometimes appearing with a faded, silver-like tone that catches the eye only under the right light. But what makes it interesting is not the date alone. It is what can hide inside the surface. Some of these coins carry subtle minting mistakes, weak strikes, off-metal appearances, or planchet issues that change how the surface reflects light. And that is where value can suddenly appear out of nowhere. And the worst part, people overlook it every single day because it does not scream rare, It whispers it. Now here is how you check it in seconds. Hold the coin under a bright light. Tilt it slowly left and right. Watch the shine on Washington's face. If the surface looks unusually smooth in some areas but overly sharp in others, that contrast matters. Next, look at the rim. If the edge feels slightly off or uneven compared to normal quarters, that is another clue. Then check the overall tone. If it looks more silver gray than a typical worn copper-tinted quarter, it could be showing unusual planchet characteristics or heavy silver-like toning that collectors sometimes pay attention to. And if you notice any strange doubling in letters like Liberty or In God We Trust, do not ignore it, because that is where hidden value often lives. Let me tell you something that actually happens more often than people think. A man once picked up a 1971 quarter from his kitchen change jar. Nothing special. Just like yours, he almost spent it on coffee. But something about the shine made him pause. He kept it, forgot about it for weeks, then later showed it in an online collector group, and that single ordinary coin turned out to have a subtle minting irregularity that pushed its value far beyond face value. Enough to make him realize how close he was to losing it forever. That is the real danger here. These coins do not look rare. They behave like normal money, and that is exactly why they slip through hands every single day. And here is what makes it even more intense. These coins are still in circulation, right now, passing through stores, vending machines, and wallets, completely unnoticed. So if you find a 1971 quarter today, do not clean it, do not polish it, do not try to make it shiny, because that alone can destroy what collectors actually look for. Store it safely, compare it carefully, because once it is gone forever. And just when you think this is the most overlooked coin story, there is another quarter, even more deceptive than this one. So normal looking that people throw it away without a second thought, and in the next story, you will see exactly why that one might be the real hidden jackpot sitting in everyday change. Number 3, I'm about to describe looks like it should be worth nothing, but in the right hands it has quietly turned into something people regret ever spending. A 1979 quarter dollar, D-mint mark, silver-toned like it has been dipped in time itself, but what really grabs attention is a strange round scratch cutting through the design, crossing In God We Trust, slicing through Liberty, and even brushing past the date and mint mark like it left a story behind on the metal itself. Most people see it and instantly think damaged coin. Nothing more. Just another quarter tossed around in pockets, vending machines, and parking counters. And that is exactly why it becomes dangerous, because coins that look ruined are often the ones hiding the most unexpected value. Here's the truth that shocks most beginners. Certain 1979 D quarters have been known to sell for real money collectors actually chase, sometimes reaching prices like $500, $1,000, and in rare error cases even higher depending on condition and demand. Now listen carefully, because this is where everything changes. The real value is not the scratch itself. It is what the scratch reveals or sometimes disguises underneath it. Collectors look for mint errors, unusual striking pressure, die damage patterns, or surface anomalies that happen during production and not after circulation. And when a coin has a strong visual story like that round mark cutting across key lettering, it becomes a magnet for curiosity, because no two errors are ever exactly the same. Now here is how you check it in seconds. Hold the coin under a bright white light, tilt it slowly. Watch how the scratch interacts with the surface. If it looks like it is sitting inside the design rather than just on top of where, that matters. Next, focus on In God We Trust. If the letters look uneven or slightly distorted near the scratch path, do not ignore it. Then look at Liberty. If the scratch changes how the light reflects across the word, almost bending the shine, that is another clue collectors pay attention to. Finally, check the D-mint mark area closely. If the surface around it looks unusually rough or different in texture compared to the rest of the coin, that can sometimes indicate a striking irregularity rather than normal damage. Let me tell you a real style story that happens more often than people think. A man working a small retail job in the United States once found a 1979 D quarter just like this in his register change. Scratched, dull, almost ugly enough to throw away. He almost spent it without thinking, but something about the unusual mark made him curious. He kept it in a small box for months, Later showed it to a collector group online, and learned that similar era-style quarters had previously sold for several $100s depending on verification and condition. That moment changed how he looked at every single coin after that. Because here's the reality, these coins are still moving through everyday life. People spend them on snacks, drop them in donation jars, or ignore them completely because they look damaged beyond value. And that is what makes this so urgent. If you find a coin like this, stop everything. Do not clean it, do not polish it, because even a light wipe can erase the surface details. Collectors need to judge it properly. Store it safely, compare it carefully, because the difference between pocket change and collector value is often just a detail most people overlook in seconds. And just when you think this is the end of the story, there is another quarter out there, even more deceptive than this one. So normal looking that it disappears from attention instantly, but when you know what to look for, it becomes the kind of coin people wish they never spent. Number 4, the quarter in your hand right now could be the kind of coin people only realize the value of after it is already gone forever. A 1997 quarter dollar. P-mint mark? Nothing flashy at first glance, but under the light it shows a strange silver shade, almost like it does not belong in normal circulation, and across the face there is a noticeable scratch cutting through the design, right over the man's portrait, and continuing into the backside where the image feels slightly disturbed. Like the coin has a story it is not telling easily. Most people would never hesitate, they would see it as damage, throw it in change, spend it on coffee, or drop it into a jar without a second thought. And that is exactly where the opportunity hides. Because the coins people ignore the fastest are often the ones collectors look at the longest. Here is the surprising truth. Certain 1997 P quarters with unusual surface marks or mint-related irregularities have been known to attract serious collector attention, and in verified cases similar coins have sold anywhere from $200 to over $1,000, depending on condition, rarity of the error, and demand. Now listen closely, because this is where most people miss everything. The value is not the scratch itself. It is how the scratch interacts with the coin's surface. Collectors look for signs that something happened during minting, not after the coin left the mint. And that is what makes this coin so interesting. Because if that mark appears to sit inside the design rather than just on top of normal where it can signal a minting anomaly that turns ordinary change into something highly collectible. Here is how you check it right now in seconds. Hold the coin under a strong light. Tilt it slowly side to side. Watch the scratch carefully. If it looks like it breaks the flow of the design instead of just sitting on the surface, pay attention. Next, look at the portrait. If the man's face shows unusual distortion or uneven shine around the scratch line, that is a key detail collectors never ignore. Then flip the coin. Check the backside. If the scratch continues in a way that seems too clean or oddly consistent across both sides, that is another signal something unusual may have happened during striking or handling at an early stage. Let me tell you a real-style story that feels unreal but happens more than people admit. A man once found a 1997 P quarter in a parking lot. Scratched, dull, almost ugly enough to kick away. He picked it up only because something about the shine looked different. He kept it in his wallet for weeks without thinking much of it. Later showed it to a collector friend who told him similar error style or anomaly marked quarters had previously sold for several $100s depending on verification and grading. That small moment turned a forgotten coin into something valuable enough that he never spent it again. And here is the part that should make you pause. These coins are everywhere right now. Passing through hands every day. Getting spent without a second thought because they do not look special at all. That is what makes this urgent. If you find a 1997 P quarter like this, do not clean it, do not polish it, do not try to fix it, because even the slightest cleaning can destroy the surface details that give it collectible value. Put it aside, protect it, and compare it carefully, because the difference between 25 cents and something worth hundreds of dollars is often just a detail most people never bother to notice. And just when you think this is rare enough to spot, there is another quarter out there even more deceptive. So normal looking that it disappears in plain sight, but once you learn what to look for, you will never see pocket change the same way again. Number 5, and last rare quarter. The coin I'm about to describe looks like it has no value at all. But that is exactly how people lose the ones worth the most. a 1978 quarter dollar. No mint mark, faded silver shade that almost looks washed out by time, and covered in many tiny scratches across the surface like it has been through hundreds of forgotten transactions. Nothing that screams rare, nothing that screams valuable. Just ordinary pocket change at first glance. And that is the trap, because the most dangerous coins are never the shiny ones. They are the ones people ignore without thinking twice. Most people would see this 1978 quarter and instantly assume it is worth exactly 25 cents. Maybe less if it looks worn. They would spend it on gum, coffee, or drop it into a tip jar without hesitation. But here is where the story takes a turn, because certain 1978 quarters without a mint mark, especially ones with unusual surface, conditions, or striking irregularities, have shown collector interest, and in some real cases similar coins have sold from a few $100s up to around $1,000 depending on rarity and condition. Now listen closely, because this is the part most people miss completely. The value is not in how old it looks, and not even in how scratched it is. It is in how those details were created in the first place. Collectors look for minting quirks, missing or weak mint marks, unusual planchet finishes, or surface patterns that suggest something happened during production instead of after the coin entered circulation. And here is what makes this coin dangerous to ignore, because from a distance it just looks damaged, but up close it may carry signs that it was never struck perfectly to begin with. Now here is how you check it in seconds. Hold the coin under a bright light, slowly tilt it left and right. Watch how the silver shade moves across the surface. If it shifts unevenly or creates patchy reflection instead of smooth shine, that is your first clue. Next, look at the area where the mint mark should be. If it is missing or looks unusually faint compared to normal strikes, do not dismiss it immediately. Then scan the scratches carefully. If they seem unusually deep but still follow the design flow instead of random damage, that is something collectors often investigate closely. And finally, check the overall texture. If some parts feel smoother while others look rough in an unnatural pattern, that contrast is what sometimes separates common change from collectible rarity. Let me tell you something that really happens in everyday life. A man once found a 1978 quarter like this in an old cash drawer at work. Nothing special at first glance. Scratched, dull, almost ugly enough to ignore completely. He almost spent it on lunch without thinking. But something about the missing mint mark made him pause just for a moment. He kept it instead. Later showed it to a collector who told him that similar odd strike quarters had previously sold for several $100s depending on verification and grading. That one decision changed everything for him, because what looked like worthless change suddenly became something worth keeping. And here is what makes this even more intense. These coins are still out there right now, passing through hands every second of the day, being spent like nothing special, because almost nobody slows down long enough to notice the small details. That is why this is urgent. If you find a 1978 quarter like this, do not clean it, do not polish it, do not try to make it look better, because collectors value original surface far more than shiny damage. Put it aside immediately, because the difference between pocket change and something potentially worth hundreds of dollars is often just awareness. And just when you think this is the kind of coin people rarely miss, there is another quarter out there even more overlooked, so ordinary that it disappears in plain sight, and once you know what it is, you will start checking every single coin twice.